We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Diddy's career is facing renewed uncertainty after 50 Cent shared recordings that quickly ignited online debate and intense speculation about what could follow. As reactions surged, focus turned to 50 himself and what he may reveal next. While speaking about his upcoming Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs, The Reckoning, he suggested that what the public has seen so far is only a fraction of the full picture. According to 50, additional material remains unreleased, with future disclosures potentially reshaping the narrative even further.
Diddy was recording because he thought he was about to beat the case. So he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tactics. Well, there's a guy named Neil who was mentioned in the court, works right up under Diddy, was organizing everything. Allegedly, they are saying that he is on video, film, tampering with witnesses, giving out addresses, offering money, bribing, we'll pay for your lawyers, all kind of shit that could be counted as witness tampering, obstruction of justice. And 50 of all people has his hands on this footage. And I'm hearing that this could implicate Diddy's lawyers in some bullshit. They could be charged. This shit is getting wild. And I'm hearing that this 50 Cent documentary is just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
This guy in this video said one specific name, and it was Neil, and it automatically made me think of Neil Dominique. Everything that we just covered the other day that came out from Diddy's former chef, Jordan, who was going to be a witness testifying against Diddy in the criminal trial. You remember she just took to her Instagram calling out Neil Dominique, saying that he was basically the one to give Diddy information that she was testifying to the grand jury. She has been claiming for a while when she testified to this grand jury on April 2nd of 2024, just 2 weeks later, Diddy's attorney would text her saying, "Dear Chef Jordan, this is Aaron Dyer. I'm Sean Combs' attorney. I left you a voicemail last week, but wanted to follow up. I have been told you have been contacted by law enforcement and might want an attorney to represent you." So that man in this video was basically saying that 50 Cent has video footage of Diddy talking to these people and setting this up.
That's right, 50 Cent has hinted that more Diddy-related recordings could be released publicly on YouTube, making them accessible to a global audience. Yet the most serious development since that interview isn't just the possibility of new footage, but emerging allegations that Diddy may have attempted to improperly influence a juror, claims that remain unverified but have already sent waves of concern across the internet. As the situation intensifies, more details surrounding this accusation are beginning to circulate, and if substantiated, they could represent the most consequential turn in the story so far.
Telling us as clear as I don't have any reserve, like the fear that they would actually have towards him. I don't think he's...
What stunned people most is that 50 Cent is now saying this outright. As speculation grew, he confirmed he's sitting on a massive archive, claiming more than 140 hours of recorded material, then doubled down online with a blunt post, "Yes, I have the footage." That single line sent shockwaves across the internet. But he didn't stop there. 50 went on to openly explain why he chose to confront Diddy head-on, transforming what once sounded like distant rumors into a deliberate, high-pressure showdown that continues to intensify by the day.
People in this docuseries that wasn't in the previous docs that you saw, because they said, no, I'm gonna do that one because 50, that's gonna be the big one. Because I'm not scared of none of that. Like, I think it's just the way I was brought up. I don't really register those things. I've been through way more extreme things than these people. I look at the project, it's just another project to me, and they can look and create reasoning for it. It could be their personal take on why it's the way it is, but if they watch the docuseries itself, they'll understand it's been done tastefully and it is the best version of a docuseries that you'll see on this. Well, he is a big part of the culture. Like he's a respectable, he made it to a respectable position within culture. Any smart person would pick their fights and you say, I don't really get anything out of it, it's not my business anyway, so then why say something about it? Like, the docuseries is me putting together people who had different experiences and letting them tell their truth, right? And a lot of things come out that make clarity for you in a different way to it. But I only was comfortable saying stuff about him because I've been saying it for 20 years. I've said it since that day.
As it turns out, many people who once declined to participate in earlier documentaries have now agreed to step forward for this project, largely because they trust 50 Cent and no longer feel compelled to stay silent. That change alone is telling. Voices that once avoided attention are now willing to speak, adding depth and credibility to a story that continues to build momentum.
A journalist would ask that, but a journalist would also say, I'm going to keep my sources secure. But, but I got it, though. They can blame it on me. There's that. I think he's going to actually like the project. He's going to see that it was done fair, the perspective. Because he's going to see too many people or he'll be consumed by what his personal experience was with each individual that's saying things about him because he lived these things. She's going to understand it. You can interview her following that and I'll do the interview with her. I'll make sure I put it together. Yeah, because I had communications with her to understand it. What's going on. And even though she's not in the docuseries, it was important I spoke to her to understand how things transpired. The husband, I spoke to him away from her, separate individual communications, and then see things kind of match up. Like when people say things, I go, oh, okay, I hear what you said, but when you hear things multiple times from people, different people, it kind of rings true to you. He got old real fast. His hair was jet black. Like mine, and the next day he was like a full. All I saw from was the raccoon pictures from the courtroom. When they drew him, it was looking.
One of the most pivotal moments came when he obtained footage reportedly recorded during the final period before Diddy's legal troubles escalated, material that immediately shifted the tone of the entire project. Those who viewed it described the content as intense and unsettling, underscoring its emotional weight and seriousness. According to 50 Cent, that discovery marked a clear turning point, pushing the work beyond a conventional documentary and into something far more consequential, powerful, and impossible to dismiss.
And Kirk Burrows called me up. He's like, yo, Gene, you and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I said, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security. I have my own contract with Puff, yeah. Paul Offord ran Green Gate Security, which is the daily operations of Puff stuff. That's his house, his cars, his transportation. He ran the office, the bad boy office, the clothing, all that shit. He ran the deli operation with his security. Wolf is over whatever's happening with Puff. You understand? Wolf tells Puff them and tell Kirksboro them, no, if y'all not going out there right.
Just like that, 50 Cent has re-entered the spotlight backed by what he values most, documentation and hard records, making it clear this isn't routine rivalry but a long-calculated exposure years in the making. He's openly suggested that without a full-scale documentary approach, others simply aren't operating at his level, while also questioning why prominent figures once close to Diddy have chosen silence. According to 50, this moment was deliberate, built quietly over time and released only when the balance shifted. With Diddy now under heavy legal pressure and less control over public narrative, attempts to slow the project have reportedly fallen flat. Still, critics note certain past incidents were not addressed, including questions Gene Deal recently raised about why specific events involving a former associate were left out. Those omissions, paired with renewed challenges to long-standing rumors, have only added complexity to a documentary that continues to grow more intense, consequential, and impossible to ignore.
Harder to ignore.
Did not and was not going anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And that bullshit was with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote that whole shit. I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, Mike. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff, you know what I'm saying? He ain't have to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't have to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit like that made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew BMF was powerful back then, they had dudes from everywhere. And Meech telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more. It made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more. And
Tragically, Wolf lost his life while fulfilling key security responsibilities connected to Puff, a fact Gene Deal insists cannot be overlooked. He argues that this entire chapter, along with Wolf's broader influence and connections, was left out of the documentary, removing context that could meaningfully alter how events are viewed. According to Gene, leaving out these details weakens the overall narrative, because Wolf wasn't a background figure but a central presence whose role and fate warrant serious consideration in any complete and honest account of what truly unfolded.
Truly happened.
Garagos, who is my co-host on Two Angry Men, he's represented Diddy for years, and his daughter is part of the Agnifilo defense team, and he was involved in all of this. So in this past weekend's podcast, I pushed him to find out how Agnifilo really feels here, and Mark kind of skirted it some, but I think you get the sense. Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark. Does Mark feel betrayed by Diddy?
I've not talked to Mark about it.
What do you think? What do you think?
I will tell you I'll just tell you, if it was me, I would be more than a little upset. I was more than a little upset when the client didn't know and I was being recorded. I mean, there was a while there where I was meeting clients under bridges, freeway bridges, because I was PTSD over it. So I think, as a lawyer, it is one of the most inviolate oaths that you take to protect the client confidentiality and the client privilege. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Mark, but if I were Mark, I would be out of my head.
Out of my head.
It's incredible. Diddy did two things here. Number one, he betrayed Mark Agnifilo, who, to your point, did so much for him. Obviously, without Mark Agnifilo, may very well be spending the rest of his life in prison. The second thing that he did is, by having a third party that's privy to the conversation, the videographer in this case standing there, there's no privilege, right? Diddy waived that entire privilege. Right. Now, it didn't end up backfiring because it seems nobody knew about it until the end of trial, and what are you going to do at this point? But it's such a callous act by Diddy to just...
Gene's position is clear. Wolf's death wasn't a minor detail or an isolated incident. It was tied to deeper industry power dynamics and decisions made at the highest levels, and he believes it warranted far greater attention. At the same time, reports suggest Diddy and his family are weighing a massive defamation lawsuit in response to the documentary, with figures rumored to be extraordinarily high, though nothing has been confirmed. As 50 Cent has noted, taking that path would require challenging the accuracy of the claims directly, a move that could invite even broader scrutiny. Legal pressure is also compounding, as extended court battles constrain resources over time, regardless of wealth. Adding to the fallout are allegations that Diddy secretly recorded private conversations with his own attorney, a claim that, if true, raises serious questions about trust and confidentiality and further intensifies the situation surrounding his defense.
Defend their clients effectively.
On the stand for 20 minutes. She will continue on Monday, but before I tell you what she testified to, I do want to give you a warning that she does talk about violence and abuse. Started off with Dawn testifying that she was working with Diddy from 2004 until 2011. She opens up about an incident she witnessed in 2009 when she went to Diddy's home in order to record. He said her and Cassie were downstairs when they heard Diddy yelling and coming down saying, "Where the F are my eggs?" He said Diddy grabbed the skillet full of eggs and tried to hit Cassie on the head, and she went down in a fetal position. Was punching and kicking Cassie before he put his arm around her neck. Diddy then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her up the stairs, and she was in shock. She said she was so in shock she did not intervene, nor did she call the police. Next day, she said Diddy locked her and another person in the recording studio and threatened them. In her own words, he said what we saw was what lovers in passionate relationships do. He said Cassie was okay and it would be in our best interest if we didn't say anything. He claims that Diddy then said he was trying to get them to the top of the industry before threatening them by saying where he comes from, people go missing if they talk. Then after all of that, he got them flowers. Prosecutor then asked, "How did you understand that?" And she said, "Death." His attorney yelled objection, and then they had a sidebar. That's when attorneys from both sides will come up to the judge and whisper between one another.
And she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train to Paris was a train in Scotland, according to Dawn. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Now, only time I ever witnessed Puff doing something is when two guys and two girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Yeah, that's what she said, man.
Scotland, Arizona, but not Scotland, the country.
Nah, she talking about the country, man.
Wow. I just think that, you know, man, you got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things that make you do strange things. And for somebody to, somebody to just gang banging an assistant, she might have a lawsuit now too. She might have a lawsuit too.
The series deepens its impact by including audio from a 2008 proffer interview with Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who is currently awaiting trial related to the 1996 killing of Tupac Shakur, adding a heavy and controversial layer to the narrative. As explained in the documentary, a proffer is a limited legal agreement that allows someone to speak with investigators under specific protections, without granting full immunity. In the recording, Davis gives a detailed account in which he alleges that Diddy played a role in orchestrating the attack in exchange for a substantial payment, claims that have reignited widespread debate and scrutiny. While these statements remain unproven and are allegations rather than established facts, their inclusion significantly raises the stakes, pushing the series beyond a cultural investigation into a tense re-examination of unresolved history and long-standing accusations that continue to haunt the industry.
Ending accusations.
He even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a murder for hire or something. You know what I'm saying?
The FBI said Zip.
So the FBI told you the same
he was
thing.
a dirty motherfucker, yeah.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker. Everybody cross you. He's the last one to know every fucking thing. Even lawyer.
Does this establish guilt? Absolutely not. A proffer or interview alone does not confirm responsibility or prove wrongdoing. It simply adds context. Statements like these, especially when coming from individuals connected to alleged events, are not definitive evidence but pieces of a much larger picture. When weighed alongside other accounts and available information, they can inform ongoing scrutiny by investigators, journalists, and the public as understanding develops over time, but they do not, on their own, determine the truth.
As the full picture slowly comes together.
What makes you say you lost your empire because of Puffy? Why you say that?
I did. Shit. If I wouldn't have never met him, I wouldn't have never been involved in this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? If I would have never met the brother, I would have never been involved in this bullshit. Really. Because me and Suge was playing on the same Pop Warner team and everything. My homeboys helped put Suge in the game and all that shit, you know? And it really crashed two people empire that fucking one night. I'm saying mine's for sure. Suge too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man. So you feel like Puffy, he's the reason for your empire and Suge empire going down because of the whole situation with Tupac.
Exactly. He the only one still balling. Shit. Yeah, he made our shit go down, man. Yeah, I ain't even met him over. He won't even look out or nothing, you know?
So break that down, man, for the people out there that don't know the backstory. What did Puffy do exactly to break down y'all empires?
Because he pitted us against each other, it seemed like he pitted us against each other. You know, which was kind of smart because we're Crips and Suge was Bloods. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just called me and Zip was rolling up Greenleaf one night. He called and asked, you think it's safe to come out here to do our concerts? And I just said, man, give me like 50 tickets to each concert and we'll be out there with you. We'll go with you. We went to the concert in San Diego, went to the concert in Anaheim, Irvine Meadows, and the one in Las Vegas with them. Yeah, and back then they was just a startup coming up. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really have no money like that.
The documentary also examines Diddy's early years, tracing his upbringing, his bond with his mother, and pivotal personal relationships that helped shape his trajectory, some of which are portrayed as complicated and controversial. It explores his mindset as he climbed the music industry ladder, highlighting themes of ambition, control, and strategic decision-making. Rather than leaning on speculation, this segment focuses on how formative experiences and personal dynamics may have influenced the image and authority he later projected at the highest levels of the industry.
Who grew up with street-funded privilege. After his father passed away, it's very clear that his mother kept on hustling and kept hanging around hustlers. Tim Dog has described the parties in the house. Pimps, hoes, hustlers, models, basketball players. You got that kind of crowd. It's got to be a drug dealer or so there. Alcohol everywhere. There was a stage built in the living room, and they were asked to perform as kids. I mean, like, this is how he grew up. It was almost if he was designed to throw the parties that we'll later hear about. From the white parties to the parties overseas, with very, 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 very interesting things happening there, all the way to the freak-offs. It's like Sean Combs was in a never-ending party his whole life. Now, from a boy being draped in chinchilla to a boy running around the streets promoting parties, interning for Andre Harrell before he got a paid position. I mean, his life was like a whirlwind. It was almost like he was in too much of a rush to grow up. I mean, even the way Andre Harrell said he bullied his way into his home, coming up with some story about a fight between him and Janice and how he couldn't live with his mom anymore. And the next thing you know, he's living with Andre. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. In my opinion, I do not believe they were just roommates. I do not believe this was just a mentor-mentee relationship. In my opinion, from rumors that I've heard, from some things that might have been lost along the way, there was a much closer relationship.
The series also draws attention to a recurring pattern in which Diddy is repeatedly connected to high-risk, legally sensitive, and emotionally charged situations, yet appears to escape lasting consequences, prompting serious questions about how that cycle endured for so long. Taken together, these elements don't frame a simple villain narrative but instead depict a deeply complex figure shaped by unresolved issues, power, and unchecked influence, suggesting behaviors that may have continued without meaningful restraint. While all such claims remain allegations, the broader portrait is one of controversy, delayed accountability, and a system slow to respond, leaving many to wonder how much harm can accumulate before oversight finally intervenes.